Boys and girls, we're back for chapter 10 of I Survived the Eruption of Mount St. Helens 1980. But the loud boom and gush of smoke wasn't an eruption, not a real one. Dr. Morales explained this to them that night when he stopped by the diner. Mom was behind the counter, and Jess and the twins were at a booth munching on french fries and trying to focus on their homework. Mr. Rowan was working late, and Mrs. Rowan was still with the twins' grandmother. They were happy to see Dr. Morales walk through the door. He'd been working on the mountain all day and was headed back to his lab in Seattle. I had to come by for another piece of that coconut cake, he said. Mom and Jess and the twins joined him in a booth, and he explained that what they'd seen and heard from their classroom earlier was called a steam explosion. And that's all it was, steam mixed with a little bit of ash. In a true volcanic eruption, he went on, the smoke is steel gray or black, and it lasts for many hours or days. The smoke today had billowed up for just a few minutes and then turned white and disappeared. The mountain had been peaceful ever since. A steam eruption is like a volcano burp, he said. They all laughed, but Dr. Morales wasn't totally joking. It's another warning sign. Nobody should doubt that St. Helens is wide awake and getting ready to erupt. There were more steam explosions as the weeks passed. Some lasted for hours. St. Helens was front page news every day. Some nights Dr. Morales was actually on the TV news giving updates along with other scientists who were closely studying the mountain. The twins went bonkers every time Dr. Morales' familiar face popped onto the screen. There he is, they'd shout. But for Jess, it was way better to see Dr. Morales in person, and her heart always leaped a little when he appeared at Clive's. He came in once or twice a week on his way to or from the mountain. Mom would pile a plate high with his favorite fried chicken or homemade noodles, and between bites of food and sips of coffee, he'd tell them about his work on the mountain. To Jess and the boys, his stories were like scenes of a thrilling action movie. A helicopter pilot would fly him up to the top of the volcano, the summit. Those steam explosions had blasted through hundreds of feet of rock and ice. There was now a large crater on the summit. It was thousands of feet wide and hundreds of feet deep. The helicopter would hover above the summit, and Dr. Morales would hop out. He'd scoop up ash from the crater and gather samples of the gas seeping out. You actually go into the crater? Eddie asked in astonishment. I go to the edge, Dr. Morales said. I can only stay for a few seconds because it's so hot, and I have to get away quickly because if a steam explosion happens while I'm there, well, you'd be toast, Sam said. Sammy, Mom scolded. But Dr. Morales laughed. Actually, I'd be boiled, he said, picking up a floppy yellow noodle. I'd end up looking something like this. Of course, the twins loved that. Sam told the kids at school all about it on the blacktop the next day. Missy looked like she was ready to vomit. But as the weeks passed, Dr. Morales often seemed troubled when he came into the diner. He was still his warm and friendly self, but he looked very weary. Studying an active volcano wasn't all helicopter rides and daredevil stunts. There were endless hours of sitting around and watching for changes. There were nights trying to sleep in a freezing tent with 30-mile-per-hour winds ripping at the sides. And there was the frustration of not having any clear answers. Dr. Morales and the other scientists knew that something was happening inside the volcano. There were many warning signs. That big crater on the summit was growing. There were massive cracks and bulges on the north side of the mountain, but none of the scientists knew for sure what exactly these clues meant. Was the volcano about to erupt? Would the eruption be violent? Would there be a warning? We just don't know for sure, Dr. Morales said. Meanwhile, the mountain quieted down, and some folks in Cedar started to question whether the mountain was really going to erupt after all. Even some scientists admitted that it was possible that St. Helens could go back to sleep. At Clive's, people grumbled. Loggers were impatient to get back to work. Cabin owners wanted to check their properties. Fishermen were itching back to get back to their favorite streams. By the middle of May, the steam explosions had stopped. More and more people were becoming convinced that the danger had passed. On the blacktop, kids got tired of talking about the volcano. Missy even started up about the skeleton woman again. One day, Jess and the boys were tossing a ball around when Missy came stamping up to Jess. You know, I never saw the proof. Proof of what? Jess asked. Skeleton Woman's shack, she said, crossing her arms. Jess rolled her eyes and the twins groaned. Not this again. Of course, she and the twins had told all the kids about being at the cabin when the earthquake happened. There was nothing there, Eddie snapped, but you promised you'd take a picture. She tried. Eddie and Sam started bickering with Missy, but Jess was no longer listening because all she could think of now was Dad's camera. With all the excitement over the mountain, Jess had managed to keep her mind off the fact that she'd lost Dad's prized possession she hadn't even told Mom yet. How could she have been so stupid? Why had she brought Dad's camera into the forest? What would Mom say when she realized it was missing? Tears flooded Jess's eyes. She turned and ran off the blacktop to a quiet spot behind the jungle gym. Sam and Eddie came to find her. What's wrong? Sam asked. Jess kept her head down so her head would hide her tears. That Missy? Eddie fumed. No, Jess choked, wiping her face. It's not her. It's my dad's camera. I just can't believe I lost it. My mom is going to be so upset. Dad's camera. It wasn't just an expensive piece of equipment, it was part of Dad. And now it was lying in the dirt in that leaky cabin. We'll go find it, Sam said. We will? How? The twins looked thoughtful. We'll figure out a way. Then he held out his hand. Sam put his on top. Jess hesitated, but then she put her hand on top of Sam's. They leaned together so that their foreheads were touching. All for one, Eddie and Sam chorused. Jess took a breath. And one for all, she answered. And when she felt ready, they walked together back to the blacktop. Chapter 11. The next morning, Saturday, May the 17th, 1980, 10 o'clock in the morning at Clive's Diner. Their chance to look for their camera came sooner than Jess expected. The very next day, the twins came to Clive's as the Saturday breakfast rush was ending. Hey, gents, Mom called. Your mom went out of town again. How'd you know? Sam asked. She just left. Mom smirked. Magic. Jess laughed. It's because you always wear the same disgusting Mariners t-shirt when your mom isn't here to stop you. The boys looked down at their stained shirts and grinned. The second Mom went back into the kitchen, the boys pounced on Jess with their news. Their dad was heading up to his fishing cabin early tomorrow morning. He'd left his most expensive fishing rod there and he wanted to bring it home. But how's he going to get there? Jess asked. The cabin was 8 miles from St. Helens. Jess didn't think the police were letting anyone get that close to the mountain. My dad talked to the police chief, Eddie said. The loggers are going back to work on Monday, and the police are even letting people with cabins on Spirit Lake go up there today. Jess was shocked. Spirit Lake was right at the base of St. Helens, much closer than Loomis Lake. Jess paused for a moment, thinking about Dr. Morales. She was pretty positive he wouldn't be in favor of people going close to the mountain, but even he admitted that nobody knew for sure that St. Helens was going to erupt anytime soon. And wouldn't there be some kind of warning before a big eruption? What Jess did know was that here was her chance to get Dad's camera back, and she needed to take it. Your dad will let us come? The boys nodded. Mom would never approve, but Mom didn't have to know because she wouldn't be home tomorrow. She was leaving early in the morning for Vancouver. The twins' grandma was getting out of the hospital, and Mom wanted to help Mrs. Rowan get her settled. Mom had invited Jess to come along, but Jess said she'd stay with the twins. Jess couldn't believe her luck. Maybe she'd be able to get Dad's camera back and sneak it back into Mom's trunk, and Mom would never have to find out that it had been missing. The next morning, Mom kissed Jess goodbye at 6:30. By 7, Jess and the twins were in the back of Mr. Rowan's truck, rumbling along Spirit Lake Memorial Highway. There were no police roadblocks, and they made it to Loomis Lake in under an hour. They got out of the truck, and they all stood in the parking lot for a moment, staring up at the mountain. Looks the same as it always does, Mr. Rowan said. It was true. They couldn't see any of the cracks or bulges that Dr. Morales had told them about. The mountain's peak sparkled as usual, and its reflection rippled on the surface of Loomis Lake. I don't want to stay long, Mr. Rowan told him, an hour tops, so don't go far. He'd barely started to walk away when Jess and the twins were sprinting toward the forest. Soon they lost sight of the mountain. The tall trees blocked their view. Not being able to see the mountain made Jess nervous, but what rattled her most was the quiet. She'd heard none of the usual forest sounds, the chirps of the birds, the skittering of squirrels and chipmunks. The air was strangely still without even a breath of wind. The twins were strangely quiet, too. They walked along with their usual baseball chatter. The hike was taking longer than it had the last time. The trail was littered with fallen branches and ripped apart by huge holes caused by the earthquake. With every step, Jess's stomach twisted tighter. They should turn around, she thought. They needed to find Mr. Rowan and go home. This all felt wrong. She was ready to grab the twins and drag them back down the trail. But then she saw it. Up ahead, the shack. Jess forgot her fear. All she could think of was Dad's camera. She hurried ahead, leaping over branches and holes. She ran up to the shack and pushed the door open. She searched all around the floor, but the camera wasn't there. Her heart sank. She'd been sure she'd find it lying on the ground. And then she saw her backpack sitting on the table. Strange. She was sure she hadn't left it there all zipped up. Jess stepped over and unzipped it. And to her amazement, the camera was tucked inside, carefully in the plastic bag. She lifted it up and removed it from the plastic. It was perfect. The boys came through the door. "You found it," Eddie said happily. But Jess's relief was mixed with confusion. "How did it get into the backpack?" "I know I dropped it," Jess wondered. "Someone must have found it, maybe a logger. But nobody has been allowed to come up here. And Missy said the loggers were too scared to come to this part of the forest. Maybe she did it," Eddie said. "Missy?" "No," Eddie said, raising his eyebrows. "You know, you dope." Sam laughed. "Skeleton Woman didn't find Jess's camera and put it in the bag. Come on, we need to go. Dad will be waiting on us." Jess put the backpack on and followed the twins out of the cabin. They had just stepped outside when Jess caught a whiff of a nasty smell. The boy smelled it too. "Eddie, what did you do?" "It wasn't me," Eddie said, putting her hands over her face. They looked at Jess. "I didn't do it." "Ugh, it smells like rotten eggs." Jess's heart stopped. "Isn't that what sulfur gas smells like?" she asked. "Sulfur gas, like on Mount Pelee. It was one of the warning signs just before Pelee erupted." "Is it coming from the mountain?" Eddie asked. The horrifying answer came a second later. Kaboom!